Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Leela Rhodes and I'll be your moderator today. Thank you so much for joining us here at NetCom Learning, a market leader in promoting lifelong learning, training, and talent development solutions. We are very excited to host today's webinar, How to Improve Data Efficiency with DevOps Solutions. And presenting today's topic is Brent Dawson. Brent is a Microsoft certified trainer with over 20 years of experience in the technology industry. Brent is also a Microsoft Dynamics architect who specializes in information security architecture, Azure DevOps, CISSP, SQL Server administration, and architecture and enterprise architecture. He has delivered comprehensive Microsoft infrastructure and security trainings, giving his students the tools they need to build, maintain, and secure their Microsoft network infrastructure. Now, please bear in mind that this is just an overview of a very robust topic. We do offer a collection of technical and business courses that can be tailored toward your specific requirements. If you're interested in a further discussion about any of those, you can make an appointment with our learning consultants through our website at www.netcomlearning.com. NetCom Learning helps customers build innovative learning organizations by achieving a smarter workforce, adapting to change, and driving growth. And we do this with a broad catalog of offerings, developing customized learning plans, and our global delivery capabilities. Since 1998, we have been empowering organizations with our managed learning services to help them reach optimal performance results and address challenges. We have 9 practice areas in which we specialize, and they encompass people, process, and technology training. Today's presentation is from the application development practice area. NetCom Learning offers a comprehensive training portfolio for application development courses, and our upcoming classes include various trainings on AZ204, AZ400, AZ220, and AI 102, and many more. Also, private training to teams is available, and those learning plans can be customized to the specific needs of that audience. You can also access a variety of application development marketing assets, such as the free 2-hour training, by clicking on the available webinar handout. These offerings can also be found with a simple search on our website at www.netcomlearning.com. Through this instructor-led webinar, you will gain a comprehensive understanding of what the DevOps tools can accomplish for you and your business, and how you can use them to build continuous delivery and DevOps in your organization. And now I'm going to go ahead and pass the time over to Brent to present our topic. Brent, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. So we're going to talk about using Microsoft DevOps as a tool to manage and compute data storage, data management, pipeline management, and all sorts of other cool, funky acronyms that we're going to throw at you that relate to how you can use the DevOps tool to manage deployments in your organization. So we're going to look at 4 different areas. First of all, we're going to take a look at what DevOps is, sort of a bit of a background of what DevOps is. Then we're going to take a look at the tool set that we can use to support continuous delivery and how DevOps can work with that. Then we're going to take a look at what the tool can do for you specifically around how it works and how it can track different types of items. And then lastly, implementing the idea of continuous delivery. And so how we can use things like pipelines and repos and those sorts of things within the environment. So DevOps, from a traditional point of view, is the union of people, processes, and products. And really what this is geared towards is that we have individuals who, in previous iterations of software, would be responsible for doing development and deployment of those applications. And then we would have other people who would be the end users and the operational people who would be utilizing those applications. And what the goal of DevOps is to marry those 2 types of people together. So instead of having just a development side of the house and having just an operational side of the house, we would like operational people to be able to participate in the development side of things, and we would like to have development people operate and work in the operational type of things. And so by utilizing these different configurations of individuals and utilizing the software that will allow that to occur can make an organization much more efficient, can make them much more agile, and allow them to be able to interact with each other in a much more clear and concise way, so that when you're trying to explain a problem to somebody, it doesn't have to go through third-party hands. So, you know, you don't have to open a ticket, it goes to the help desk, and the help desk has to do something with it, and so on and so on. You could literally talk to the person who wrote it and said, hey, you know, I'm having this problem, that problem, whatever. And so we're going to, you know, be able to use these tools to help us continually deliver out updates and changes and modifications to tools, so that we can always stay sort of ahead of the curve from a technology point of view. So from a Microsoft point of view, Azure DevOps is the tool that we will use to do a lot of things like continuous delivery, continuous updates, and so forth. And to do that, there's a number of different tools that we have at our ability. We have the board structure, which is a tool for agile development or agile project management. We can also integrate things like CMMI or waterfall or other sorts of hybrid project management processes into this as well. The two that are probably the most important for today's discussion include the pipelines, which is the way that we're going to actually build, test, and deploy using CI/CD to get continuous improvement and continuous deployment out to the customers. We're going to then also use the repos, which is where everything actually lives. And then also from there, we'll have test plans, which we'll actually build to, you know, test to make sure that everything's correct before we deploy it out, and the artifacts that we have as well. So just a quick look here at some ideas of how we actually get the things ready so that we can do continuous deployment into the environments. The roadmap that we have is called the Azure boards, and this is the way that we actually determine when and how we're going to be able to continuously deliver updates and new features to customers through the system. So as a customer, you know, puts in a complaint for a bug fix or has an idea for a new feature or something of that nature, we generally would have somebody create a backlog. That backlog would get added to a features list, and then that features list would be created that would show you a board of some nature, much like this one. And because it's based on the agile programming structure, agile project management structure, every sprint would have a number of items that would have to be delivered. Some of the items would be small enough to be delivered within the single sprint. Some of them might take a couple of sprints or more to get built out and deployed out to the end user. But this structure is the starting point for all of the items that will be continuously deployed out to the end user. This is the place that everything starts, because we have to track it somewhere. And if we look at individual items that exist within the DevOps board, you'll see that not only can we say what it is that we're trying to work on. In this case, it's a ticket that says, you know, we're having trouble with information forms. It's getting really slow responses. And so we can track not only the problem, we can track you know, whether or not we're going to fix it, who's going to fix it, what sprint is it going to be released in, what priority does it have, and any discussions that we've had around fixing these items as well, and keeping track of all of that information. A part of this, again, to get these items out and ready to go, is the concept of a user story. Where we will actually, you know, write up what the case is for us to create this particular feature. From there, we will add it as a feature to the system. We will generate a test case for it, and then from there, we'll be able to actually test it using the automated systems of the pipelines, which we'll get to in a couple minutes, to be able to automatically go through and say, okay, I'm going to build this product, I'm going to test against it, and I'm going to run against approvals against it to make sure that it actually executes correctly. Another couple of things to deal with on the boards is tracking from a user point of view. So making sure that we know all of the items that are going to be processed, what their status is, who's been working on them, and how long they've been that it took to actually execute them, so that we have some history around how the data that we're using is being stored and going to be processed into the system. Here we have a list of all of the items. So again, just a different view, and being able to take a look at how the data is actually stored. Who worked on it again. So you have that audit bit trail. You have the capability of knowing where all the data is, and then being able to go and backtrack and take a look at everything so that you know that the data is there. Just another view of the boards. I'm just going to skip ahead here a little bit. And where am I here? Here we go. So continuous delivery. So continuous delivery is the concept that we will constantly be making changes to the system. So if you think about the way that we used to do work in the system, what we would do is that we would have a system where you'd have an application that you would write, and then you would have to go and either take a server down, uninstall the previous version, and then reinstall a new version, test it to make sure it's okay when it was deployed, and then you would be able to turn the server back on and put users back into it, and they'd be able to work with the tool. Well, the only problem with that, of course, is that that's a slow process. It's a very invasive process. You don't have the capability of constantly making changes. So you would have a stack of changes or a stack of bug fixes or new features that you want to deploy and those sorts of things. And you would say, okay, well, for the next year, I am going to write an update of the current version of the software that we have. And we will do all of our testing and all that sort of fun stuff that we have to do as part of the project that we normally would work on. And then, we will release it to the end user. Now, if this is an internal project and it's a web-based project, it's a little bit easier to deploy because I can interact with the web servers and take one down and deploy while the other one is offline and that sort of thing. But if it's a database application where I need to have a newer version of things like the .NET framework or of the SQL Server database engine or any of that sort of stuff, it gets to be very, very difficult to be able to deploy. And again, it becomes very invasive because either the IT person has to stay up really late so that when they're outside of business hours, they do the work to do the upgrade, and then the users come in the next day and it's there, or they have to take an outage at some point in time during the business day, and the end user then, basically they couldn't use the system until such times it's been upgraded. Now, that system or that type of upgrade system or that type of deployment system worked pretty well for a long time. If you think about even as an example, Microsoft Windows. So, we're at currently Windows version 11, okay? There's been more than 11 versions of Windows if you include all of the, maintenance releases and all that sort of stuff. But if you think about it in the old days, right, you had two choices. You could either do an upgrade, let's say if we're at Windows XP, and then we were going to go to Windows, what was the next version after XP? Windows 2000, I believe, or something like that. I can't remember the order. But anyways, so you would go from Windows XP to the next version. And then from Windows 7. And then so you had the choice. You could either do an upgrade. So you would go and do a deployment and then do an upgrade to that way, or you could start with a whole new computer. So you would back it up, make sure you have all your data, wipe the hard drive, and then do a fresh install of the operating system. Well, that's okay if you've got 2 or 3 computers and it doesn't matter that they're offline for a little while. But if you've got hundreds of users or thousands of users, that's very difficult to not only manage, that's a lot of people you're going to inconvenience with their systems unavailable. So Microsoft sort of borrowed the idea from Unix, where you can actually have systems that are running and be updated at the same time. So if you think about how more modern applications run, you are constantly getting new things added to applications, operating systems, and so forth, without actually having to do anything on the system. So the idea of continuous delivery, continuous deployment is where we will take end user adopted suggestions, bug fixes, whatever it is, And we will then use the idea of continuous delivery to push those items out to people's desktops or application servers or what have you. So let's take a look at, as an example of Microsoft Windows 11. So Windows 11 came out, new version, and so there was sort of this one-time, intrusion where everybody had to go and, either buy a new computer or, update their machine. Basically, they would have to start from scratch, and they would get an upgrade to it and that sort of stuff. And everybody would get these brand new, pristine Windows 11 computers. And then after a while, you would start getting updates, right? So if you think about the old day of patching with Windows, you would have to download the patches, you'd have to install the patches, you may have to restart your computer 3 or 4 times to get all the patches to work, and it was a very slow process. And then you'll notice that Microsoft started pushing with Patch Tuesday, all of the patches out so that you didn't have to download them. The system would automatically download them, and then you could have it reboot at a certain point in time. Inevitably, if you were doing it as a network managed machine, it would reboot you right in the middle of the day. So I've actually had a couple of situations where I've been in seminars like this, where the system just decided, oh, now is the time to restart, even though it's being used. And it would literally restart. It would take 10, 15 minutes to boot back up, and you just have to deal with it. But now, using the continuous deployment process and continuous delivery process, Microsoft can continuously update the product with very little impact to the end user, whether it's a Windows server, an application server, or any of the other types of servers that your applications that you might choose. So if we look at this diagram again, you'll notice that the whole continuous delivery, continuous deployment theory is made up of 2 different parts. Okay, so the first part, of course, is the idea that everything has to live in a pipeline. So what does a pipeline do? Well, a pipeline delivers something from A to B, right? It could be a gas pipeline, it could be an oil pipeline, it could be a water pipeline, it could be a sewage pipeline, whatever it happens to be. There's an input area, then something happens to it. It flows from one direction to another, and then there's an output area. So the pipeline systems in DevOps work almost exactly the same way, where you have the input on one side, which is suggestions made by users, bug fixes that you've identified, potentially new features that you've generated, any of that sort of stuff. And they get built into a package, okay? So they're checked into the pipeline through DevOps. Once they're in the pipeline, they can go through a number of things that will occur. So first of all, you will be able to do bug fixes. You'll be able to do automated testing against it. So you would use tools that you could automate things like, how long does it take to load up? If it's a web page, what's the web user interface look like? Any of that sort of stuff. So you can automate a lot of those features. And then as it works its way through the pipeline, it will do certain activities based on different types of triggers. So as you can see in this example here, step 1 would be to check it in. Step 2 would be to make sure that it actually gets added to the right code repository and it gets merged in correctly so that the information is put in and located directly. And then from there, it will then fire some triggers. Now, those triggers are going to do a number of different things. So they're going to notify the servers that there is a potential change that's coming. It's going to build test environments that you can then go through and automate the testing process. And that's another thing that the pipeline is really good for. So in previous ways of doing deployment, you would build a package, you'd have a build number, you'd go through a compile process, you'd build your DLLs and your exe files and all that sort of stuff. And then you would have to wait for somebody in the IT department to build you a system to test against. Now, if you're a developer and you've been developing for a long time, you know that, at one point in time, if you wrote a piece of software that would run on, a 32-bit and a 64-bit computer, guess what? You might have a stack of computers under your desk that you would have to install the application on to test against. And then, of course, virtualization came along. And so instead of having 6 or 7 computers under your desk, now we would give you one really big computer with a lot of memory and a lot of hard drive space and a lot of CPU, and you could run virtual machines to do the exact same thing. So the amount of hardware and the cost for the hardware was reduced. All we have now is the incursion of the software costs. And not only would it let you run multiple versions of Windows, you could run on some of them, you could run a Mac OS, you could run Linux, you could run any other types of languages that you liked in terms of operating systems, and be able to test and try out your application. Well, we can do the same thing now, except that we don't have to worry about the person at their desk having a big computer with multiple virtual machines. That's still usable. But with the pipeline, it will say, okay, I know that the application I'm going to be testing is a 64-bit Windows application. And I know that it's going to use automated testing to test a calculation that has been added on to a formula that's in the system. So I need to have a Windows server that has 16 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of hard drive space. And it has to have 4 CPUs. And I need it to run for an hour from X to Y. So the trigger will fire off to an automated system in DevOps that will be attached to a Hyper-V manager that will go and build your automated server that you can test against, whether it's a server operating system or a desktop operating system or whatever that operating system happens to be. It will allow you to then go out and build all that. And next thing you know, your system is ready. The pipeline will automatically install the application to that server or to that desktop. It will then run any automated tests that you have. If you have manual tests that you want to execute, you can run those as well. And then after you've gone through, you've gone and done your testing, you approve the test results. Then what happens is the software has been validated. That build that you used to test it can then be passed on to the next system, which would be user acceptance. And then from there, you have a number of other pipelines that will execute as well. So in this pipeline, after we've gone out of the sort of continuous integration, where we're constantly adding features into the existing base of product without having to start all the way from scratch and adding them in, now what we're doing is that we're allowing the application to be deployed in what are called blast radiuses, okay? So, I've gone through, I've done my testing, everything is tested properly. I now can have these deployed to 3 different types of users, okay? So the first type of user that we could deploy to, and we would then have very strict management about, is somebody called a canary, okay? Now, what do canaries do? Well, canaries are taken into coal mines to detect for gas. If the canary dies, everybody runs out of the coal mine. Well, we use the same sort of terminology in this pipelining process where, we will have what I refer to as the guinea pigs in the office. Generally, it's going to be people in IT because they're in theory can handle it. So the new feature, the new application, whatever it happens to be, will be deployed to those individual machines. And then for a certain period of time, maybe it's a week or 5 days or something like that, you'll go out and you'll use the application or you'll use the desktop app, the software or whatever it happens to be. And, you will validate that it actually works, meaning that it doesn't crash your system and you can actually use the tool and it doesn't interfere with something that it used to do. And then you're good to go. So you'll be able to do some approvals in the pipeline. You can have a next automated step after that approval has been completed, where you will then allow for early adopters. So for any of you that are in any of the Microsoft programs, the early adoption programs, that's the point where Microsoft will, and you can, release the new feature that you've done or the new application to what are referred to as the early adopters. These are the people that are sort of living on bleeding edge, not cutting edge, because they're kind of one step ahead. And that they'll say, okay, you know what, we're going to run this tool. We're going to give it a really good kicking to make sure it actually functions properly and it works really well. And, they might use it for a month or whatever. And after that period of time, if there's no major bugs detected or there's no major problems with the application, then what will happen is that it'll go through another approval process and it will then do what's referred to as the final build, okay? Now, that final build will be when all of the end users in the organization or customers that you have out on the internet, or whoever it is that this is designed to be deployed to, will get the final product. Okay, and so they'll be, they'll get the updates, let's say in the middle of the night, the system will reboot, they'll come in tomorrow morning and say, hey, here's the new feature that we've been asking for, and I didn't have to do anything, right? It just automatically showed up, it works, and Bob's your uncle, and off we go. So that's one delivery cycle, okay? But we could have multiple delivery cycles doing exactly the same thing in parallel to each other. This is not a one step does and then somebody has to wait until something else happens. Because of the idea of it being continuous, I will continually be able to input and add new features through continuous integration. I will always have the capability of checking those items into the system and having them build out correctly for me to then automate the testing and have that test completed, which will then validate that the build that I've done has been correct and works properly. And then from there, we have the next stage of the process of going to the canaries and then going to the early adopters and then ultimately being released to the users. And this is a continuous cycle; it never stops. So the point of all of this is that we have all of the information that we've recorded from the users, whether it's a bug or a feature request or whatever it happens to be. We then track it in the system. We have ways of organizing all the information, storing it all in the system, being able to audit that information from an end user point of view or a project member point of view, developer, tester, end user, however you happen to be in the project, which then connects you through to the pipeline process, right? In that pipeline process, we have what are called repos, which is where all of the code repositories live. Depending upon where you are running your code from, that repository could be on your private DevOps system, or it could be kept in GitHub, which could be made then public so that you could have other people go in and test and check it and whatnot. And then from there, those repos fill back into the pipeline and you just continue through. So the advantage of this is threefold. One, you don't have major interruptions to your end users. Two, you have continuous flow of data from one system, one process to another, all the way through from inception to delivery to the end users. And three, you have a way of tracking all the information, you have a way of managing the information, and a way of controlling how the processes from one environment to another have been completed. So that basically talks about the idea of continuous delivery. And it just is a way for us to be able to, keep track of information, whether it's through, item backlogs, because we have a number of items that have been, thrown at us and we need to do some work on. We can keep track of feature lists. We have all of the workloads that we have associated to the users. We have the sprints that we're doing the work in, and all of that sort of administrative structure then attached to the pipelines and ultimately to the end user deployments that the end user application will be deployed to. And that pretty much takes us to the end of this session. There is a little bit extra here that I would like to talk to you about, and that is around training. So NetCom, of course, is a training company, and one of the things that they're very, very good at is Microsoft technology training. I, as an example, this week am doing a technology course for them on Dynamics 365 development, on how to do development in finance and operations. But they have training courses that will cover just about every aspect around the topic that we looked at today. So there'll be training for DevOps, there's training for testing, there's training for all sorts of different things that can occur in the whole continuous delivery pipeline. So first of all, why am I getting certified, right? Well, the whole point of this is to do a couple of things. One, it proves that you actually know what you're doing, okay? So you can go in and, you can write the exam and you can pass the exam and you can take the paperwork back to your boss and say, hey, look, I know what I'm talking about. And it's a bit of a chest thumper, right? So you can say, hey, I did this and it was really good. So it helps you to stand out, depending upon the organization you work in, it might give you some recognition. For those of you that are on LinkedIn, you'll notice that every time somebody passes an exam, they publish it on LinkedIn and the whole world knows about it. And, they always get congratulations, and that's cool. So, you do get that standout capability. You do tend to earn more. So people with Microsoft technology certifications tend to earn about 20 to 25% more than people who don't. Okay, and so if you have any of the advanced certifications, some of the cloud ones, some of the solution architecture exams, those again can help to increase your employability, increase your salary, and make you more employable with and see you as in a different light in the market. I've been at this business for 34 years. I have just about every Microsoft certification that has ever been created since 1991. My first exam was Windows 3.1. And I have done a lot of consulting for Microsoft. I speak at a lot of conferences. And one of the reasons why I've been selected over the years is because as being a trainer, I can stand up in front and talk to people, but I also have the certifications and the skills to actually say, hey, you know what, I've done this. And the fact that I also do this as my day job helps as well. I can come in and give you some good examples. But having the certifications as well, just as a way for people to know that, okay, this person actually made the effort, they took the time to learn it, they took the time to take the exam, and they passed it. You can use these badges, and it's just become a kind of a cool thing lately that everybody, the technology companies have sort of started handing out. And you can use these badges on a number of different types of social media. You can have them as a discoverable thing. They're verifiable, right? So you could actually, ask somebody for their transcript and go, hey, can you prove that you passed this exam or that you have this certification? You can actually do that. So that, again, makes it easier. And, you never know who's going to find you in terms of potential for a job. If recruiters are constantly looking on tools like LinkedIn and Twitter and other applications. And so having the ability to use those tools and work with those tools is very important. So there is a book available, and actually I believe it's part of your data package that you've been given on the portal. And it's just a short book. It's about 20 pages long or so. And really what it talks about is sort of the win-win of certification. And really what it's going through is it's explaining to you what the benefits are to yourself, but also to your business, that your employer, as to how being well trained and certified can increase your employability, but can also increase the benefits to the business, right? Because if you have been certified, you've got the training, you can solve problems quicker, you have a better idea of the types of situations that can cause problems. Or in certain cases, if you're into the senior development sort of things or architecture, sort of looking at it from the point of view of having that greater insight and knowledge of how the application runs and can better certify and work within your organization. So you can do things like take advantage of advanced features and that sort of stuff. And of course, it could help to increase your productivity. Could in theory make you more efficient, and hopefully give you better job satisfaction. So if you're looking at the Azure sort of path, specifically for developers, there is some basic structures that we need to do. If you're going to do basic cloud infrastructure, so you would want to do the Azure fundamentals, or Azure data fundamentals, or Azure AI fundamentals. So depending upon which route you're going to take, you'll start with either basic cloud, data solutions, or artificial intelligence, machine learning. And then from there, you would do the Azure Developer Associate, which is sort of a programming exam. And then from there, you'd be able to get into things like artificial intelligence engineering, data engineering, DevOps engineering, IoT development structures, and so on, and then ultimately help you move your business from potentially an on-premise implementation into a cloud-based deployment where you can support the organization much more efficiently without having all the local hardware in place. You can have it all in the cloud, and you can let Microsoft manage it and work with you to get it to work properly. So as far as the courses are concerned for NetCom, you can take the courses. They're instructor-led. All of NetCom's instructors are really, really good. depending upon the course, anywhere from 3 to 5 days. For instance, the AZ 400 course, which is the Microsoft DevOps course, is a 5-day class. But as part of that, you'll get a certified trainer who understands the subject matter. You'll get access to the virtual environments. There's virtual labs that you'll get that are provided to you for doing lab exercises. You'll have access to those for 180 days. And you'll have access to priority support and the learner portal and instructor courses, instructor videos for a full year after your course has been completed. So it's not a come and sit for 5 days and then kick you out the door, you're on your own. You do get support after the fact through the technical support people and through the the use of the virtual environments and stuff. So you can always go back and play and break things and fix them and learn how things actually work in greater detail without having to worry about your own environments at work and breaking them for you. A couple of things lastly around certifications. Microsoft has implemented a renewal process. This has happened with the last year or two where more of the certifications will have a renewal, which is anywhere from 1 to 3 years. And depending upon what the certification is and which the exam was, some of them are yearly. So as an example, my solutions architect certification for Dynamics 365 is every year. But some of the more functional ones like finance and operations, finance modules, and those are every 2 years. But you will get notified 6 months prior to when your expiration occurs. And the nice thing about it is that it's a free exam. You can write it as many times as you need to. As long as you pass the exam before your due date expires, you're good to go. It's completely online. It's always multiple choice questions, and there's about 25 to 30 of them. It's not proctored like a regular exam. In some ways, it is sort of open book, but like I said, you do have a time limit. And again, you can take it as many times as you need to until you pass it. And if for whatever reason you don't renew your certification by the due date, you will have to take and pay for a regular exam again and take that over. So they do give you quite a large space, 6 months to pass it before you lose it. And so it's a really good idea to keep on top of that and make sure that your email contact information is up to date in the portal, so that you can get notified when these sorts of things occur, and so you don't lose your certifications. And that is why we want to get certified and why we want to get trained. And Leela, I will hand it back to you.
Thank you so much. As always, we really appreciate you joining us. We are going to get to our question and answer session in just a moment. In addition to today's webinar, we do have a lot of informative webinars coming up. So please feel free to go to www.netcomlearning.com/webinars/ to register for any of those. I would like to go ahead and give the presentation rights over to Sagnik. He's our vendor marketing manager. He's going to introduce some promotions and webinar related courses. Sagnik, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I would just take a few moments of all our participants' time today. We have put together a very handy document for all our participants for today's session on how to improve data efficiency with DevOps solutions. So I'm going to give a very quick run through of what to expect from this document and how it would really benefit all our learners today. First up, let's know a little bit about NetCom Learning, right? We are proud to announce that NetCom Learning has been declared as the winner of the 2022 Microsoft Learning Partner of the Year Award. It is a global recognition within the entire Microsoft partner ecosystem, wherein we were selected among 3,900 submitted nominations from more than 100 countries worldwide. It is truly an honor to be the #1 Microsoft training partner all around the globe, but there are reasons for why we have been selected for this honor, and that comes down to our commitment and dedication towards our learners. Just to expand on what we are and from where we come from, not only are we recognized as the #1 training partner of the year from Microsoft, but our credibility lies in the fact that we have serviced more than 80% of the Fortune 1000 companies with a significant customer base directly involved in the US government, having served 100 plus US military bases. We have extensive customized solutions for the entire enterprise ecosystem, be it a corporate customer or be it a government customer, either on the state or the federal level. Having said that, if you look at the overall pool of customers that are associated with us, we are proud learning partners of over 14,000 enterprise accounts, having trained over 150,000 individual professionals from across these 14,000 enterprise accounts. And we do enjoy great Net Promoter Score with 96% of our customers recommending us, and it is only because we are the proud partners with over 1,000 certified instructors like Brent, who have a wealth of industry exposure. They have the background to understand their customers' projects and their requirements, and the ability to customize and set the context right while delivering the official authorized training from Microsoft. Moving further, we are not only the partner for Microsoft, but we also have authorized training partnerships with all the industry leaders across technologies and business use cases. So we have authorized training partner status with Cisco, AWS, CompTIA, PMI, Axelos, EC Council, Red Hat, Adobe, and Autodesk, to name a few. So whatever be your requirement in terms of skilling, we do really have the end-to-end solutions for your requirements. As part of this handout, so today's session was being recorded. So in case you want to just brush up the knowledge that was shared today, feel free to access the recording of today's session, and the link for which is provided in this slide. I just want to remind everyone that this handout is hyperlinked, so please feel free to explore the assets and the resources mapped into it by simply clicking on the links that are included. As an exclusive benefit of participation, to all our learners, we are providing a free access to our state-of-the-art learning portal. NetCom 365 is really the hub for when it comes to your skilling journey. So it provides you a 360-degree view of your progress across technologies, across vendors, across resources as well, because not only do we have the webinars like today's session, but we do have similar free of cost learning resources. We have master classes, we have paid classes, and everything is accessible from this central hub, which is NetCom 365. So we highly encourage all the participants today to go ahead and activate your learning portals and get started in your skilling journey. Also, as an exclusive benefit, you all the participants today are entitled to Microsoft official courseware, and all of that is accessible from this portal itself. So we highly encourage everyone to go through it and check this out. Now let's quickly cover some of the latest offers that we have going on to support your Microsoft training and certification journey. First up, we have the Microsoft Skilling Program. It is particularly designed for enterprises who have multiple learners across teams, across locations, whatever the size or the scale of your operations. We have something for you in this program. The beauty of this program is it really encompasses the entire Microsoft training portfolio. So across product lines like Azure, Security, Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, and Power Platform. So whatever be your skilling requirement across the entire Microsoft portfolio of products and technologies, we are the go-to one-stop destination for you. And it comes with some exclusive enterprise benefits, like up to 80% discounts are provided when an enterprise engages in a Microsoft skilling plan deployment with us. And and the entire learning process is made effortless because our partners are supported with the cutting edge technologies. Like, we have an entire dedicated easy enrollment process in place, wherein no matter what your geographic locations are, or whatever be the size of your organization, we create dedicated enrollment sites for your employees to directly explore the courses and enroll themselves, and all the back end logistics of it is handled from our side in direct keeping your learning and development manager, or whosoever is the point of contact with respect to the training of their teams, keeping them in the loop. So everything is really effortless and fluid. Of course, it comes with the NetCom 365 portal, but it comes with the decision maker access as well. So the NetCom 365 decision maker portal gives a wealth of insights into each and every single employee's learning journey across products and across vendors. So it really gives you a 360-degree holistic view of the entire skilling process. As our instructor Brent rightly pointed out, the value of getting certified. So the same facts have been highlighted here as well. We highly encourage everyone whosoever is considering the undertaking the upskilling journey to complete it with the certification, as the certification is like that seal of honor that you get, the official validation of your skills right from the vendor, that is Microsoft, who are the authority on that particular technology. So we have this win-win of certification ebook. It is an official Microsoft collateral that we are providing absolutely free of cost to all our learners today. All you have to do is follow the link that is provided here in this handout. For the government sector customers, we have an exclusive promotion that is running, particularly to solve the address the issue of the end of fiscal year. So we all are aware, with the FY 2022 coming to an end for the federal sector, the training budget becomes a concern, because otherwise, unless you park it somewhere or you utilize it in a wise way, you kind of lose all that money that can be required, that can be utilized by the employees for upskilling. So NetCom Learning has to create solutions to support the government customers maximize their training funds over a flexible duration of 12 months. So it doesn't have a timeline, it doesn't put a dead end to your funding concerns. So it really maximizes and gives your training funds a life of 12 months. So all you need to do is just park your training funds securely with one of our solutions, like the Learning Passport or the NetCom Plus subscription, and these are valid over a period of 12 months, and you can keep training your employees as and when required over the next 12 months as you go forward. One thing to mention here, NetCom Learning is DoD 8140 compliant. So all our instructors, all our training services are 100% compliant with the highest levels of security clearances and everything. So making sure that you are always getting the best possible trusted training from NetCom Learning. To expand a little bit more on what NetCom Plus is, it is an individual learner subscription wherein for just $2,999, you get access to over 350 authorized training classes across vendors like Microsoft, AWS, Cisco, and others, including 60 official Microsoft courses. So which basically includes the most popular essential Microsoft training courses across product lines within this single package for a very effective cost of just $2,999 per learner per year. Of course, if you have a requirement of more than 10 learners, the enterprise discounts kind of get unlocked and you get the effective price much lower at around $2,500 per learner. The Learning Passport is our major solution and the go-to solution for our enterprise customers. As it rightly says, it is a flexible team training package wherein you just park your training funds and you get access to the entire training portfolio of 4,000 plus official courses that NetCom Learning has access to, and it is redeemable over 12 months, but at the same time, it increases your fund value by up to 100%. So you get a lot more than what you invest, and it comes with all the perks and benefits unlocked with it. So the Learning Passport is a solution we highly recommend for our enterprise customers. Closing out with the recommended courses and events. As part of this handout, you'd find this slide. This particular slide features all the courses that our instructor already covered as part of the learning path for the DevOps training journey for Azure professionals. All these individual items here are hyperlinked. So all you need to do is just look at what you feel like, wherein you fit within the skilling journey, and just click on it. You'd be landing on our dedicated page with the course outlines, the target audience, the prerequisites, and everything. And you can take ahead from there. We highly recommend all our participants to take advantage of our free quiz on AZ400, which is the courseware that we are providing to all our learners today. Once you go through the courseware and you want to validate whether you have gotten the skills, feel free to take the assessment. It would give you a realistic picture of where you stand with respect to your retention of the skills and the understanding of the same. And if you feel that there still remains a gap, the paid trainings are always there to help you out. Feel free to connect with one of our learning advisors, and we would be happy to guide you through the entire process. We have two upcoming masterclasses listed here. One is around Windows hybrid server. Another one is around Microsoft 365. The dates and times have been listed here. Feel free to participate in this as you go forward in your skilling journey. With that, I'd like to thank everyone, and back to you, Leela.
Thanks so much. We're going to go ahead and jump right back into our question and answer session. We are almost out of time. Real quick before you take off, Sagnik, is there any certification or continuing education credits for today's webinar?
There is no credit like that, but yes, the participants, if they are interested in getting their certificate of participation for today's session, it would be available in the NetCom 365 portal.
Okay, thank you so much. Our next question is, does DevOps work with non-Microsoft systems, for example, AWS?
Yes, it will work with other systems. It's not just Microsoft. It'll work with AWS, Google, or any of the other platforms that you have.
Thank you. Our next question, can DevOps be used to manage projects?
Yes.
Short and sweet. Awesome. And as of right now, I'm only seeing one other question. As soon as we get through this, we will wrap up today's session. If you have any existing TFS installations, can you migrate to DevOps?
Yes, there's actually a direct migration path from TFS on-prem to DevOps in the cloud.
Thank you so much, Brent. I appreciate you sticking around for our question and answer session. We want to thank you all for joining us today. If you do come up with any additional questions, please feel free to send them to us at webinar@netcomlearning.com at any time. We hope that you all found today's webinar to be informative, and we look forward to seeing you back here with us very soon. Also, feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Once again, thank you, everyone, and have a great day.